You have found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. And today we're going to talk about, reportedly, the asking price for Zach LaVine has been revealed. We're going to react to that. Also, Vucevic's rumored contract extension. We have the details on that. And Draymond opts out of his contract. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat the Designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. And we want to make sure you guys are aware that Locked On Bulls is free and available on every podcasting app, as well as YouTube and the Odyssey app. But Pat, let's get into it. So we had some rumors. Casey Johnson came out with the rumored asking price that the Bulls would have if they decide to move on from Zach LaVine. This includes one young player, multiple first-round picks that they won in this deal as well, and cap filler on top of that to fill out that trade. Do you think that's enough? If the Bulls were to try to move Zach LaVine, do you think that is the right asking price for Zach?
Is it the right asking price? Sure. Yeah, it basically tells you we think that he's a top player in the NBA. That's why we paid him. That's why he's on our team. And we're not just going to give him up for, Landry Shamet and multiple second-round picks. Now, will they receive that asking price? That may be a different situation. I don't know any team that. I mean, this is the same thing as at the trade deadline, right? When they were like, "This is what it's going to cost for us to come up off of Zach," and all you do is look around and you're like, okay, what team's in that position that Zach LaVine would actually benefit? There's not one to me that comes to mind right away. I guess maybe, again, are we talking about the Orlando Magic? Like that would be the one team that you're talking about. But even then, right? Like, why would they want to make a move like that when it seems like they found their young player you can build out without having to pay this guy a ton of money? I don't see the Bulls getting a trade partner on this. To me, this is we're going to set this asking price so astronomically high that if you actually were to try and go get Zach LaVine, you would have to knock our socks off for us to be like, yeah, we'll move off of him.
It's the same thing that they did with Alex Caruso. I mean, We heard that Alex Caruso's asking price was 2 first-round picks. It was because they don't actually want to trade Alex Caruso. Yeah. But if a team was going to try to get Alex Caruso off of them, they want to make sure that everyone knows that, no, it's going to take you a nice amount of money to make that happen. And that's what they're doing here with Zach LaVine as well. I think ultimately Zach isn't going to be moved. And I think that we all know that for the people that have actually been paying attention. I know there are going to be some people absolutely that still hold out hope that it's going to happen and the Bulls are going to decide to go ahead and trade Zach LaVine. But it's not happening. And this rumor all but just proves that, in my opinion, as well.
And I don't think that that's a bad thing, right? Like, I know there are people that are like, he's not your number one option, but what it shows you is that the price is now set. There's no guarantee that a team won't get desperate. And now that price is out there, but you'll know, kind of the teams that are desperate when the season gets ready to start, right? Maybe they're missing somebody. Maybe they got to make a move for one more person at the trade deadline. Now people kind of know what the asking price of Zach is going into the season. Zach LaVine might be able to build on that. Hopefully we'll be able to build on that to the point where, Bulls fans have switched on him again, like they switched on Kobe White. Remember, Kobe White was one of the worst pieces of all time. And now all of a sudden we can't move Kobe White without getting back multiple first-round picks out here. So I find it as a good talking point, but I don't find it as anything realistic. I think it's like you said, the Bulls are letting teams know we want Zach, and we're willing to ride with Zach unless you just make us an offer that we would be so dumb to not accept it that everybody would look at us crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, shout out to the Bulls. I mean, you should set that asking price right high for a player that you don't want to give up. Like, listen, Zach LaVine, longer tenured Bull, and so it makes sense. Like, you're not just going to give him up for anything, despite some Bulls fans thinking we just need to jettison Zach LaVine off because he's a number 2 on a championship team, not a number 1. Here's what I'll ask you with this. So now hearing this and hearing the asking price for Zach LaVine, what do you think that may mean for the asking price of other players on the team? If that's the price for Zach LaVine, do you think that means they have an equally high price for DeMar, or even higher price for Patrick Williams, considering his youth? What do you think that means for the other players on the team and the trade value that this front office may see for them?
I think it means exactly what AK has told us. He hasn't lied to us. He said continuity. I think that's what it means for everybody. Everybody's asking price is going to be high. Is that the way that people want to go? No. It's not. Is that the way that we want? Like, the thought process of like, we're actually just going to run this thing back is kind of crazy in most of our minds, because it's like you watch this team struggle for basically the end of one season, the entire first half of another, and then they kind of got it together at the very end, and you're just going to run it back. It seems a little asinine to us, but I mean, at the end of the day, AK's told you what he's going to do. Get prepared to see this team back together, and I think the asking prices, right? Like, maybe you can get a little bit less for DeMar DeRozan, but the Bulls don't want to move on from DeMar DeRozan. The Bulls want to figure out how to make this thing work with DeMar DeRozan to the point until they can get, Zach LaVine kind of to that, okay, now they wanted DeMar and Lonzo to have that Chris Paul effect that he had with Booker. Yeah. That's what they tried to build this team to be. And we kind of saw that happen, but then, Zach ended up getting hurt, having issues with the knee all season, having issues with the back, the hand, all of those things that went into that one season. And I don't think that the Bulls are ready to move off of a guy that they feel has a bigger ceiling than what we've seen. And because of that, right, like, they're not going to Larry Market in this thing. They're not going to name the players, right? Max Strus got hot during the season, became a nice shooter. Jimmy Butler. They're not going to do that, because even like when we moved off Jimmy, what was he, 28? 29?
Like yeah, 28, I think.
The conversation, and I know everybody's gonna be like, no, it wasn't. Yes, it was. I listened to y'all call into the radio. I listened to all these YouTubers that was doing it before I was doing it. The conversation was absolutely the same thing. You'll never win with Zach LaVine. You'll never win with Jimmy Butler. He's a number 2 at best. Lie to me if you act like that wasn't you. Everybody can do that, but like, y'all know y'all was saying that. Nobody was saying Jimmy Butler's the number 1. Everybody was like, it's only if Derek comes back that you can ride it out with Jimmy. And it's not the case. I don't think AK is going to take that chance.
I mean, we'll ultimately see, man. I think that I think AK is seen, and even like, let's not even say with the Bulls that have been sent off and they ended up developing elsewhere. Like, look at AK's history. Like, when he came to the Chicago Bulls and he traded for Vooch, went after DeMar, Zoe kind of fit the timeline, but went after DeMar. That is not atypical of how Arturas Karnisovas runs a team. And I think that, so we're seeing him come back down to the norm of what he did. He did something outside of his norm. And for the most part, when everybody was healthy, it paid off. But that risk of injury and everything that you gave up for that team to be together, AK ain't giving up nothing else, man. It's not happening. He's not giving up anymore. We may not see a first-round pick traded for the Chicago Bulls for the next 5 years.
Probably not. I mean, you realistically look at how Denver's built. They have the draft picks next season, I believe, right? Like, they have their draft picks the season after that. Like, they're going to keep adding young pieces to that team, even though they just won the NBA championship. Now, they may move some now because, right, like, they might be trying to go with a different philosophy, add something else in. But, like, realistically, that team has been built from the ground up. The only piece that's a transplant piece on that team is Aaron Gordon. And I guess KCP. They did trade KCP. But like, that team has been built from the ground up. That is a homegrown core of Michael Porter, Jokic, and Jamal Murray.
Guess how many of the Denver Nuggets first round picks are slated to go elsewhere over the next until the 2030. Guess how many are slated to go elsewhere?
I'd say 1. I feel like they might have gave up a pick for Aaron Gordon with the Gary Harris you did.
Actually, yes, they do have 1 in 2025.
Yeah.
Other than that, They got it. They got all their draft picks. So that's where you can look at for AK. We're going to have our draft picks.
And here's the thing. This is what I want people to understand. The whole build through the draft is cool if you have pieces that it's worth building through the draft for. Yeah. Building through the draft when you suck takes a while. I give OKC credit. They rebuilt that team kind of quickly.
But they did trade for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
They did trade for Shai Gilgeous. That's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, like but even at the time they traded for him, right? Like Shai Gilgeous wasn't like, oh my God,
nobody thought he was going to be this.
Yeah.
He's an MVP candidate now if that team wins more. So
yeah. Nobody thought they were going to have that. So I look at that as like, that's a heck of a rebuild. I don't expect the Bulls to be in that. The Bulls got themselves to a baseline, right? You got yourself to competitive. The Bulls are competitive.
Yeah.
Are they going to win the championship every season? For sure not. But they are competitive. Now your goal is to get above competitive. When we get our draft picks back, which we have them back next season, by the way, I feel like people think we don't have a draft.
But then we got one going out 2025, and then we got everything out after 2025.
I feel like most are just like, we have no draft capital.
It's we're not the Phoenix Suns. We have no draft capital. No, like
we're not the Phoenix Suns here, boys.
Yeah, after the next 7 years, we got 5 of them. Like that's where you want to be. But yeah, so next up we're going to be talking about Vucevic's rumor deal, which we kind of have some of the details out now, what that framework is going to look like. But before we do that, I got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. But when we spend all of our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burnt out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out the brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Pat. So we got these details about this Vooch contract. Rumored. It's not exact, but it kind of makes sense. 3 years, $62 million, $65 million deal, which averages out to about $21.75 million per season. Is that an overpay for Nikola Vucevic, or do you think that's right on point?
That's probably right about on point. And I don't know how they're going to structure it. I would say, I would think they probably end up front loading that contract so that, kind of when everybody's money comes off of the books, Vooch's money isn't that much. Mm-hmm. But I'm okay with that. I mean, listen, I know people want us to go out there and get this elite defensive big that's, going to knock down threes at a high percentage and is going to, be freaking Dwight Howard on one end and Pau Gasol on the other. I don't know who that dude is. I don't even think Victor Wembanyama is coming into the NBA to be that dude. So, You know what I mean? Like, I don't know who this guy, like Jokic, like that's what y'all looking for? That's the closest you're going to get right now in the league. So, and DeAndre Ayton is basically the same guy, with just a little bit younger. I heard that trade possibly being floated around, which is always interesting when it's like, you got to trade for this guy. I wouldn't mind Vooch back on that deal. I don't feel like that's a deal that hurts the Bulls. I don't think it's a deal that hamstrings the Bulls. And I think it's a deal that, if this doesn't go the way you want to, can still be moved. And I like that AK is making, if this is the deal that he's throwing offers out, that, this is still a very palatable contract. This is the reason people still want to trade for Zach LaVine. It's not just the talent. It's because that kind of player on a $40 million deal isn't bad in the modern NBA, because these mothers are making stupid money.
Yeah, that's true. I look at I had to think about it this way. The mid-level exception is now $12.5 million. And so looking at that, to say that Vooch is worth $8 million over the mid-level exception, yes, he is.
Yeah,
he's a top 5 player at his position. At bottom, even if you want to try to rank some of the more defensive-minded centers above him, he's still top 10. You're not putting him no lower than 8th. And so for that, to get a player at that, for what they can do for 3 years, right, which is not super long-term money, which you do typically if you're not giving any long-term security, you got to pay a little bit more. It all makes sense. Everything tracks.
Yeah, and I think some of the recency bias with it is tough too, because we didn't get to see Vooch in the playoffs. We didn't get to see Vooch down the stretch. We didn't get so it's like Bam Adebayo wasn't good this season. We know that, right? Yeah. Like that's the name I constantly see above Vooch. Like he wasn't good this season. Like we watched him get cooked by Vooch a lot, right? Like I saw that. Like so I think that a Vooch deal of this ilk is perfect. The one thing that I would like to see the Bulls do is, and I don't know if they will, but you got to get him some backline help that's consistent. You got to find a way to get him some backside help. Like there's too many times with these defensive liabilities is Vooch turning around and somebody's already in his face. Now, the one-on-ones, the face-up joints, all right. Is Vooch going to get cooked on defense? At times, for sure. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's not getting mixed up. But there's a lot of times where that team defense comes into play, and Vooch is a very good big man inside of that team defense. And when that 4 spot on the floor, when that power forward is Javonte Green, it makes it really hard on a center trying to cover that 7-footer and that guy that's 6'9".
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately, and the thing I think people forget too is right? I know we have a lot of smart fans that listen to us because, they're smart and we give them the details on top of that. But if you let Vooch walk for nothing, and that's one of the silliest thoughts that I've had is when people say, just let a free agent walk for nothing. It's and go inside Brook Lopez, you realize that we can't just go out and sign somebody with the same money we're going to give Vooch because of the way that the salary structure works in the NBA. We're only able to re-sign Vooch because we own his bird rights. If he walks, you're looking at just your mid-level exception to be able to use, and you're not getting a starting caliber center more times than not for $12.5 million. It's not happening.
No, and listen, this team where it's at right now, and it's like I said the other day, 8 games is the difference in mindset. Vooch is a key to helping you get to those next 8 games. The one thing that I think the Bulls have to do, Billy Donovan has to adjust. Vooch asked you to adjust. I get that everybody's like, he was supposed to be this 3-point shooting center that came over here and spaced the floor. That's fine. Let him do what he was doing over there that made him that 3-point shooting center. Right? He said, let me start in the post.
Yeah, that's it. It's real simple. Vooch had one season of being a volume 3-point shooter, and he did pretty good in that season. That was his last season in Orlando. Other than that, he always used his 3-pointer as a complement to other things that was going on. They basically looked at Vooch and said, we have no floor spacing. DeMar DeRozan is basically our low post scorer. We need you to shoot all threes. Guess what? He wasn't successful at doing that because that's not his game.
And that's the Chicago curse. Get guys in here and tell them to not do what they're great at. Vooch is great in the post.
Yeah.
He's a great post player. It's not even a question. His back to the basket game, his footwork, he is a great post player. His touch on that little turnaround float, great. You know what he's not? He's not a great 3-point shooter. He's an okay 3-point shooter. He's good at times. But when that 3-point shooting is complemented off of the 15 points from the post, now all of a sudden we're looking at Vooch and we're like, man, he was out there knocking down the threes too, finally able to get them to fall. I know we want him to have this Brook Lopez ascension into the 3-point shooting game, but Brook Lopez also was a basic center most of his career until he figured out, this post game that I'm stretching out is now a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
So I think that I hate that we do that, man. Even with our draft picks, P. Will comes in. We're trying to make him a wing, and then all of a sudden we're just like, oh yeah, let's make him a power forward. Not to say he shouldn't be able to play it. He's 6'9". Most of the guys he's playing up against are very similar build, but come on, bro. This is not what you brought this guy here to do, and now we're upset that he's not doing something in a different role that doesn't suit his game.
Yeah, that's a fact. Hey, it's weird, but hey, let's hope that Billy Donovan with continuity figures out a better way to use Vooch, especially in the fourth quarter. Billy Donovan, when he's cooking, go back to him in the fourth quarter. It shouldn't be that hard. It really shouldn't be that hard. His fourth
quarter adjustments are bad. I'm not gonna lie to you, dog. I still can't believe we pulled Andre Drummond in that Heat game, bro.
Bro, that PTSD, bro. Him and Kobe, the 2 players that got us back in that game, and we looked at both of them and said, you know what? Thank you for what you did. Go ahead and sit down.
And it's I don't know, man. I'm always just like, I get it if like he's like 37. Like if DeMar needs a breather, I get it. Even though DeMar seems to never need a breather. If Vooch needs a breather, I get it. Like Kobe's like 23. Like this man can run. I know Andre Drummond looks old. He's like 28.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
It is insane, man. But hey, hopefully we figure all of that out before we get into this final conversation talking about Draymond Green opting out. Is he the answer for the Chicago Bulls? I do have to tell you guys about Ibotta. Grocery shopping and getting a little bit of something for yourself. You're already doing it, so why not get cash back for it with Ibotta? You can watch your closet grow after purchasing all of this season's latest trends. How about watching your cash grow back with each purchase? That's the thing that Ibotta is offering right now. Our listeners can get $5 just for trying Ibotta using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play and or App Store, and you can use the code LOCKED. You can earn cash back on every shopping trip. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry links. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipts after you shop, or the fancy dinner that you've been craving. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too. When you start with Ibotta, it includes Macy's, Lowe's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. Again, just go to the App Store and download the free Ibotta app and use the code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play and or App Store, and use the code LOCKED.
All right, Pat. Last topic of the day. Draymond Green opts out of his contract with the Golden State Warriors, man. A lot of mindsets, different thought process going on around this. He could return to Golden State. There's already been talk Dallas, some other teams that could be interested. I look at Draymond personally, and I see him as a player that, and he's the ultimate system player. And I don't mean that as a negative. People take that as a negative. That's how I look at it. Not to say he can't fit in other systems. He can't help other teams. But, like, just the idea of him not being in that Golden State Warriors system, it just doesn't seem right.
The tough part is, right, I want to think that Draymond is possibly going to move on, but I also think that Draymond's the ultimate teammate. Draymond really does love them boys in Golden State. He loves being around them, loves Coach Kerr, loves working with them. I don't know if all of a sudden at the end of his career he's going to go, or at the end of, this contract, I don't know if it's anywhere near the end of his career, but he's going to go, you know what? It's time to switch it up. I want more money. I want as much money as possible. I think here's the tough part, right? Where does he go if it's an as much money as possible thing? And where does he go if it's the, okay, maybe I want to just like, go to a place where I feel needed, or where I feel like I could be the mentor to that next generation?
Do we want the guy who just punched his teammate in the face to be the mentor for the next generation? Like, is that what we want?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
Keep somebody in there. Hey, you want to know why? Because this generation don't know about when you say stupid stuff, sometimes you get punched in the mouth. I'm just saying, Dalla. You know what I didn't do to people that usually were bigger than me? Say dumb stuff. And I don't feel that bad about the whole Jordan Poole thing, because I swear I will hold on this till the cows come home. Nobody moved. Like, like if you with your boys and like one of y'all punched each other in the face, you're gonna be like, hey, no, we not doing that, bro. You try to break it up a little bit. They were just like, hey, man, like, you kind of had that one. Yeah. You lucky Draymond did it, not me. You know what I mean? So I don't know, bro. I don't know. I can see him in Dallas. I think Dallas is a fit for him.
I can see that.
I don't know if it's a good fit, but I think they'll give him the most money.
That's fair. That's fair. I think for me, I kicked this around. I don't know how realistic this is going to happen, right? I kicked around. I could see him going to the Spurs, but that's not winning. If he's winning, he's not going there. I can see him going to the Spurs.
Ooh, Spurs would. First off, that's a kick in the little guys for the Dallas Mavericks. If he goes to the Spurs instead, that's almost as bad as Mariah Mills dropping a sex tape on you. But We had to work that in somehow. Tommy.
No, we did not have to work that in, sir.
We didn't have to. Oh, I thought the running thing was to talk about
Zion Williamson and porn stars.
But no, I think that I don't know, man. Is there any chance that the Bulls are in on any of this? Or should they be, I guess?
No. There's no way. I'm not even going to entertain it. No, it's not happening.
It's tough because on the devil's advocate side, it's like, you mean a guy that can handle the basketball, pass the ball to people in the right position, and plays defense? Is Draymond Green the replacement we actually need?
No.
Oh, and he's gonna be a leader, by the way. Like he's like one of the main vocal leaders.
I hear that. Yeah, I hear everything you're saying. No. That's yeah.
You're not even gonna entertain it.
Not even entertaining it. Not one bit. Not for the money he's gonna take. If he's willing to come,
he's the full 17 minimum, for sure.
Yeah, for the money he wants. No,
like you got to go into the luxury tax for Draymond Green.
You see, now could you imagine that? Could you imagine trying to sell Jerry Reinsdorf on Draymond Green?
Marco Bellinelli.
I mean, it wasn't just Marco Bellinelli, but he was the biggest part of that. But I mean,
you know what's tough about it? Yes, I could see Jerry Reinsdorf signing off on it,
bro. I mean,
the player who's been talked about as being a possible Dennis Rodman type of guy in his career. Yes, I can see Jerry Reinsdorf signing off. Oh, you talking about a guy that's probably past his prime as well? Yeah, I can see that happening here in Chicago. I wouldn't be shocked by it at all. I wouldn't be shocked. Like if they announced tomorrow, like, yeah, Draymond Green is in serious talks with the Chicago Bulls, I would just be like, of course he is. Like, of course,
of course he is.
It's a 4-year deal with 3 years guaranteed.
Draymond Green actually reached out to Jerry himself. He found Jerry Reinsdorf's number and reached out to him himself. You know, if you get in with Jerry Reinsdorf, you got a job for life.
And here's the thing, right? Everybody here would hate it until Draymond hit the court.
That's the thing. We ain't got to just worry about him hitting the court.
Well, he really ain't been. Has he been? What's his games play? He ain't been out a ton. He did miss a lot.
I'm talking about hitting people, bro.
You talking about? I thought that was an injury thing. You talking about injuring people? Oh man, that's tough, Dre. Don't do it.
Because he already punched one light-skinned guard in the face. What's another one?
I mean, listen. Again, sometimes you got to duck, bro. Like you telling me you saw Draymond Green? I got the same thing for him that I got for Nikola Vucevic, bro. Like you telling me you saw Draymond Green walking up on you and you wasn't prepared to do nothing at all? Like there's no way, bro. Like you got to. That means you've never been hit in your mouth.
That's
like
funny.
Your whole life you ain't never got hit in the mouth. Like nah, bro.
That's
you gotta duck and weave, bro. Like I ain't gonna stuck with you. That's like never mind. That's not a story for the pod. Don't worry about it. Hey, let's get up out of here, man.
Time to go.
Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Y'all don't cancel me. I'm still good.
Y'all can follow me at CEO Haize, CEO Haize. You can also follow us collectively at Locked On Bulls. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. We'll be back tomorrow to break down more topics regarding the Bulls and around the general NBA. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls, and we are out. Peace.